what the Giants feel every time they try to win a game. This is Tim's New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. It was a 26-18 loss to the vaunted Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. It was one of those games you watched, and that first half, the Giants were 9-9 with the Steelers, and it was a myriad of penalties that caused the Giants really to have issues in that first half, and there was so many other problems in this game. And you got to think about it. Is it poor coaching? Is it just poor decision-making processes? Is the fact that they just didn't play well? And I think that's what we have to look at with this team. And I think a lot of it also had to do with the Steelers just I think they played down to the Giants as an opponent a little bit in that first half. I believe the Steelers had at one point in that first half 7 plays of 10 yards or more. You have plays like that, you probably should put up more than a 9 spot with 3 field goals. Tyrone Tracy came up like 7 up, looking like a player. I don't want to be a player no more. Looking at 20 carries were 145, 7.3, and the touchdown. It was that big 45-yard run that really helped get the Giants back into this game. But then he went into concussion protocol in the fourth quarter. Devin Singletary only 2 for 11 for 5 yards a carry. Daniel Jones, 24 for 38, 264, 6.9 yards. It was a dink and dunk style offense, even with the return of it's not the return of the king, it's return of Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers 7 catches for 71 yards. His longest reception was 16, targeted again 13 times. The next target was 7, which was Darius Slayton. I think the theme of this game should have been, let's look at the penalties. Let's look at the effort. Let's look at the fact that maybe we all know the Giants aren't a good team. We know this. Steelers are a good team. Steelers with Russell Wilson in his second game, 20-28, 278, and a touchdown. Almost 10 yards per completion. QBR rating of 114.9. Najee Harris, 19 carries, 114. You also had Warren had 9 for 46. You know, it was funny, though, because we were watching it. We want to give a big shout-out to the Shannon Rose in Clifton, New Jersey. They invited us to come out and do a podcast live from the restaurant. So we want to make sure we give them some big props because it was a wonderful night. Had a lot of great people come out. We had Swing Culture TV, also known as Lester. We also had Lester and his buddy coming out as well. We had Chris for the Love of MMA. We had Big L Gigante. Mrs. Online Big Blue was even in the house doing her thing, being the executive producer of the show. And I want to thank everyone, Emily especially, over at the Shannon Rose in Clifton, New Jersey. If you're in that area, stop on by. It's a great place. A lot of fun we had last night. But I think this game was kind of it gave you kind of a weird sense with this Giant team. It's like, well, maybe they're not as bad. And then they do some things, you scratch your head and go, well, maybe they're not as good. It's going to start at the top, and people aren't going to want to talk about it. But it's your quarterback. People are going to say, well, Daniel, you can't blame this game on Daniel Jones. Well, he did have 2 costly turnovers while your team was driving. And people are going to say, well, that one strip sack by TJ Watts, that wasn't Daniel Jones's fault. Well, technically, yeah, it was if you watch the play. No one picked up. No one picked up on TJ Watts. No one picked him up. You could see Ellie Moore Fudd, who we didn't think was going to play, that he was looking that there was someone was going to come over and chip him at least. Daniel Jones didn't shift the coverage. He didn't shift the line. He didn't make the proper call. He didn't make the proper read, and he left one of the best pass rushers in the league a wide open shot at the quarterback. I'm sorry, you can blame Devin Singletary. You can blame Ellie Moore Fudd. You can blame whoever you want. But if you don't, that play wasn't solely on the quarterback, but you need to shift when you see a blitz. You need to make the adjustment. That's what you need to do. And then the interception. That's just inexcusable. It's about protecting the ball. The Giants still aren't scoring in the red zone. I mean, you literally have to have a 45-yard run to score for this team to score a touchdown. I've said it before. Once the Giants get into the red zone, it's over. They need to score from the 21. Not the 19. They gotta stop their drives at the 19, at the 21 and then try to score, because this is a terrible red zone team. And like I said, interceptions, and I love people because Daniel Jones showed a lot of moxie and a lot of anger when his team wasn't ready for that 2-point conversions. Who the fuck cares? You're not putting up any points. Daniel Jones is the king of the field goals. Do we forget that? You have to score. You cannot rely on your rookie running back to rip off 45 yards. It's like the reincarnation of Saquon Barkley, that we have to have someone like Saquon Barkley come out here and be Superman because of the fact that our quarterback sucks. And that literally is just what it is.
This sucks, and it's horseshit. But I'm too polite to say anything because I'm a class act.
I'm a class act. I'm not going to say anything. Oh, and I think I just said a bunch of things. We got to give a big shout out also to Azeez Ojulari, 7 tackles, 2 sacks as well. I've said this before, and I've said it over and over again. Brian Burns looks like a different player with Azeez Ojulari than he does with Kayvon Thibodeaux, because you can't have a carbon copy on both sides of the line. We still had issues stopping the run. We still had issues with them basically running off tackle at will on either side. That's something that needs to be addressed. You got DJ Davison coming up big like 7-up with his 6 solo tackles, 8 in total. Bobby Okereke, a total of 14 tackles. He was all over the field and a half a sack. Bobby Okereke, to me, still looks a step slow. He looks a step slower from last year. He's got that second-year Blake Martinez feel. You had Dane. You had Dante Banks. Dante Banks got hurdled over, or I should rephrase that, Najee Harris hurdled over Dante Banks. And I guess Dable didn't like the effort on that tackle, so they pulled him out. I think at this point in time, they're trying to send a message to this kid, but I'm not 100% clear what the message is. They thought he had lack of effort on that non-touchdown by Pickens in the corner of the end zone. I actually didn't think it was that terrible of a play. I think they're just trying to make this kid into a player. But I find it interesting that you're picking on this kid who does have immense talent, who had made plays, and you're going to bench him. But you see at times the sulkiness and the sullenness of the likes of Malik Nabers, but he's untouchable. And it's always been that way with the Giants. There's these players that are untouchable, that they can do no wrong, that they can dog it, that can make mistakes, but they're not going to feel the raft of the punishment. Going back to Lawrence Taylor. Hell, going back to Frank Gifford when he used to be out on the town all night with the boys. I mean, this game was an opportunity for the Giants had an opportunity to win this game. They dropped to 2-6. They now have to go home and play the Washington Commanders, who came off that big win against the Bears. There's a lot to fix on this team. There's a lot to like on the defense, even though they gave up 26 points. There's a lot to like with some of the rookies, especially in terms of the Tyrone Tracy. Everyone's going to talk about the grit of this Giant team. I can't talk about the grit with a Giant team when you're 2-6 and you keep losing. And you keep losing in ways, and you find new dynamic ways to lose. You finally decided to use Darius Slayton. That one play that Darius Slayton had early in the first half, if Daniel Jones actually leads him, that's a touchdown. Instead, Slayton had to wait to come back for the ball. But we don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about Troy Aikman. I used an expression or a phrase a couple of weeks ago about watching Daniel Jones' throwing motion. I used the analogy of him stepping in the bucket like they do in baseball, where basically when you are a batter and you take your front foot and when you go to swing, you kind of cock it out to the side and away from the pitcher because you're trying to bail out. And that's if you look at Daniel Jones, that's kind of the way he throws. It looks like he's stepping in the bucket. So just like Mark Schlereth stealing my red stripe, if I see Troy Aikman, I'm going to punch him in the back of the head too. I got a long list of people I got to punch in the back of the head. Is this team a better team with a different quarterback? I'm going to say yes. Is this team a better team than they were last year? Yes, defensively. But when you watch Daniel Jones overthrow Devin Singletary and the ball sailed into the arms of, what's his name, Beanie Bishop Jr., with 42 seconds remaining. I mean, it just reminds you of the futility that you have gone through the last 6 seasons. And that futility needs to stop somewhere. And it needs to stop with you drafting a quarterback. That's all it is. And you need to work on your special teams a little bit, especially that Calvin Austin return. But Dable can say anything he wants. He could praise this team. But right now, I'm not sure he's got a handle on this team. I'm not sure he's got a handle on the locker room. And I'm not sure that he has an understanding completely since that 7-2 start, what it takes to be a head coach. And you can't leave Shane unscathed because he's the one that's bringing in the groceries for Dable to cook with. So you could talk about how disappointing it is. You could talk about how gritty this team is. But at the end of the day, it all matters in the win-loss column, and it's 2-6. And I probably think it's going to be 2-7. We've said it before, and we said it a million times at the start of this season. We thought the Giants would be 2-6 at this point. Potentially could be on 2-7 against the Commanders, and then maybe having a win against the Panthers. But we got to kind of wait to see how that all even plays out and how that all even works out now. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to Shannon Rose in Clifton, New Jersey for allowing us to come out last night and doing that live stream. If you haven't seen it, go watch the rebroadcast. It was a lot of fun. Had a good panel, had a good guest, had a good crowd. It was very exciting. And we're not going to do a live stream today like we normally do after the games because I'm a little tired. But as always, you know what to do. Don't forget to like, don't subscribe, don't forget to ring that bell because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.